да.
Алло.
Алло, Мирка, здорово.
Привет.
Привет, я звонил сегодня, да?
Да, звонил. У меня тут груши появились домашние.
А, круто.
Будешь?
Я сегодня спас я сегодня, да, к сожалению.
Что говоришь?
Что говоришь?
Сегодня не придешь?
Да, некогда что-то сегодня, некогда, да.
Ну, завтра заходи.
Ладно, мерси, спасибо. Чё, как у тебя там, все нормально?
Да, нормально. Зайдешь, поговорим.
Ладно, круто. Ну ладно.
Давай.
Ладно, давай, да. Ну, это он имеет в виду, кажется. Да. Нет, наоборот, вот так. Да, жара же тебе просто уже заметно. Да. Ну, я просто так это. Ну да. Нет, это тоже правильно. Ну, это немножко не это самое. Да, это самое немножко. Ладно. Очень вкусный. Ну нет, да. Вот наоборот только, да. Наоборот. Да, наоборот просто хрубый человек. Эх, жизнь. Мартовский. Это кино, знаешь, нет? Я не знаю, да ладно, нет, он не знает. Надо. Позвать надо. А мне ты его чувствуешь? Типа он жара говорит. Ну правильно. Технически говоря, не совсем не так это, да. Я проще, да. Вот именно, да, понимаю, это. А ее можно как-то жить, понимаешь, представляешь? И да, он это понимает, да. Страшно. Лучше не говори ничего никому, да. Ладно. Я злой, потому что у меня ничего, ни жены нет, вообще ничего. Какого еще любовника, да, я понял. Да. То есть, ну, мне, может, сам как я, ну, то есть мне нельзя молчать тогда, пока не наработаешь. Ну, а как это, хорошо, а как это получить? Какого вообще любовника ты о чем говоришь? Ни жены, любовника, на тебе так говоришь, да. Наоборот, да. Нет, это вообще, что такое? Нет, наоборот. Ну нет, это не обязательно значит. То есть, надо наработать, потому что... То есть путь не в том, что ты будешь...
Как-нибудь недорого.
Да.
Это надо искать.
Да.
Смотрите.
Банкиру легко подберет выгодный кредит с высокой вероятностью одобрения.
Здорово!
Банкиру знает, где выгоднее.
Ладно, все.
Three contenders left. There's a reason why I'm playing Chopin right now to test the pianos. I am probably the most sensitive when playing Chopin Nocturne, and this particular one because I love this piece a lot, and I do a lot of tone variations, and it's a good way for me to test out how much variations and how well I click with the piano.
Яблок. Ладно, надо.
No, they is here. Can I go play? It's probably closed by now. So right next to the town hall. Hi, this is Tiffany. Hello. Thank you. Welcome to my 100th vlog. 100th vlog. Before you click away, hold on for a second. Let me explain why I make vlogs in the first place. Because there's a high chance that you did not watch all of my vlogs before and don't really understand why this pianist person majored in how we interact with anything from ordinary objects to works of art, like paintings did, and make these objects. And who makes objects anymore? I mean, think about for a second, a toothbrush. You pick it up, but do you really think about the people who made the toothbrush or the machine that made the toothbrush? Probably not. You don't really think about the person. You probably just pick it up and you brush your teeth, but you don't really recognize the object itself. I don't think so. Correct me if I'm wrong. Companies. By now you're probably wondering, what is this long spiel about the toothbrush? What does that have to do with anything? Well, I think the same applies to classical music and what's been happening in the modern age. Because we lose touch with the human behind classical music, we are more likely to be disconnected from the thing itself. Classical music, music. Basically, I think, when you lose the human, you lose the thing itself, which is not necessarily a bad thing if it has function, like a toothbrush. But, can you say that? The same applies to music, for example. I have a feeling that I will be not playing
Probably
super well.
нет.
Hi, so this is why it's very special today for my 100th vlog to get to know the person behind the brand of pianos that I play all the time. Hello, meet Mr. Losby, Ron Losby.
Well, hello, Tiffany. Wonderful to have you here at the Steinway factory in New York.
Thanks for inviting me to your office. I've never been upstairs in the factory, so. Alright, I scanned through 500 or so questions from Steinway's Instagram, my Instagram, and also my YouTube community tab page, and I picked a few questions. So, should we get started?
Yes, please.
What are your main responsibilities as CEO?
Well, the CEO, it's obviously to make certain that Steinway has the utmost in quality, and our quality never varies from what we're known for, and to make certain that the brand Steinway & Sons is always kept in the highest regard, the highest esteem in the public, and to serve our artist community, because our artists are the lifeblood of our company.
Yes. So, what is your day-to-day like?
Day to day, well, I usually start with walking around the manufacturing floor just to say hello to my friends out there and see them craft these beautiful pianos, because it's inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean, as a pianist myself, it's wonderful to see how all this comes together. I mean, for years when I would play the piano, I had no idea what was on the other side of the keyboard.
Yeah.
And then once you do, you have a better appreciation of how it comes together. And it also makes you a better pianist, I think, because you now understand how it does produce sound.
Right.
And what I love about Steinway is that every single one that we produce has its own unique, different musical personality.
Yes, and it's always very fun as pianists because we don't usually travel around with our instruments. We get to meet different personalities on stage.
This is true. You got to make friends right away.
Exactly. Oh, I'm glad. I always humanize my pianos and I always treat it like a person. I'm glad I'm not the only one. Okay, from Brianna on my Instagram. How did you become the CEO? I think that's a very interesting story. So.
Well, it was a very circuitous route. It wasn't direct.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to be a concert pianist, and I have a piano performance degree. I went to Juilliard and the Conservatory in San Francisco, and I gave piano lessons to help myself through school, as most pianists do. I wasn't particularly good at teaching. I didn't particularly like it, and so I answered an ad about demonstrating piano in these horrible things called electronic organs, which I thought were so déclassé and so beneath me. But interestingly enough, if I sold one, I made $50. Well, now back in the day, that was 10 half-hour lessons. And I thought, would I rather work and get one of these or do 10 half-hour lessons with a child that probably didn't want to be there as much as I didn't want to be there?
Right.
So one thing led to another, and I realized when I was in my mid-20s that becoming a concert artist was very, very difficult. It's even more difficult today. But it was a life that is very challenging, even if you quote-unquote make it. And I loved music, and I thought, gosh, if I went to work for piano companies, I could still be around music and still play the piano at home, which is what I really enjoyed doing, and not have this rigorous, arduous, tour schedule or concert schedule or competition schedule. Because I always thought, when I read Rubinstein's book, My Young Years, that, we'd get on a train and it'd be 4 or 5 days between concerts, and you'd have your piano and your caboose, and everything would be fine wine and cigars and chocolates and all that sort of stuff. Isn't quite that way. So I chose a little different course because I felt it was better for me.
So you worked through Steinway up, right?
I worked through Steinway. I was a district manager in the Midwest of the United States, based in Chicago. Then I went to Europe and managed our retail operations throughout Europe for 10 years. Then I came back here as president of the Americas, and then a few years ago I was elevated to president and CEO of Steinway Musical Instruments, which also includes our band instrument company called Concertmeister.
Oh, hey, sorry to interrupt, but a few of you were asking if Steinway is affiliated or makes other instruments. Is that kind of like?
Well, through our subsidiary Concertmeister, yes, Bach brass winds, the Steinway of the brass.
Some of you were asking, I think, if you make trumpets or some brass instruments?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
Bach trumpet. It's like the Steinway of the brass family.
Fascinating.
And then Ludwig drums. You ever heard of Ringo Starr and the Beatles? He played Ludwig.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, Kahn brass and Musser percussion and LeBlanc woodwinds. So we have everything that can march in the band, we make. Everything that's in an orchestra, we make.
I did not know that. That's so cool. Okay. Thank you for these questions. See, now I also learned things about different aspects. What would you be if you didn't become the CEO of Steinway? It's a question from Tani Kim on YouTube.
I probably would be a physician.
Position?
Probably an emergency room physician.
Ah, so a
Just
doctor.
yes, just because my family, there was a couple of them in our family,
Mhm.
and a couple of nurses, and I was fascinated about how you could help people
Right.
so immediately,
Yeah.
and I felt it would be very gratifying.
Ah, so you were the odd one out with being a musician.
I am the first musician in our family
Ah,
that I'm aware
me too.
of.
Ah, cool. Do you remember the first time you played on a Steinway from George on Instagram?
You know, I do. It's pretty interesting because when I was growing up, I started the piano early, about 5 years old, and we had this piano that was called a Krakauer, and it seemed to be fine.
That's Polish.
I don't even know where it came from. It sounds like it's Polish, yeah, or German. And then my mother bought a Steinway, and I will never forget when I sat and played the same pieces that I had played on my old piano, how different it sounded, how different it felt, how different it just reacted. And it was like my teacher's piano, because I didn't realize why on her piano I couldn't do what, you know, I wanted to do, because I was on this other instrument that had problems. But once I got a Steinway, then when I would go to my teacher, it was the same type of piano. I could make friends immediately with it.
Right. Ah, that's exactly how I felt. I grew up with a Boston upright, and you know, it's not the same as a Steinway grand, even though the sound is still very nice for upright. But I have that same feeling sometimes. There are different colors that I could do on a Steinway.
Exactly. I mean, a Steinway, you have an unlimited color palette as long as you have the ability yourself, technically,
Of course.
to extract all those colors.
Yeah.
And I've really not played on any other piano that has such a wide dynamic range. And it really does become your friend. Or if you don't practice, it's your enemy.
Yeah, it's just like practice. Try to hit it right. The future. Ready? What do you think the future of pianos are? A lot of people ask this because in the past, you know, there's so much innovations from clavichord to forte pianos and now to modern one.
Well, I think that the piano is still evolving and it's still being innovated upon.
Yeah.
Our Stereo, our electronically augmented piano,
Right.
that seamlessly is integrated into the building of a Steinway piano, and now it turns into this incredible device where I can play, record myself, edit it if I wish.
Right.
It's soon going to be able to be what we call stereocast or bi-directional video, where you can have a stereo, I can have a stereo, we can play together. If you're playing at Carnegie Hall at home, I can perhaps dial in and have your performance at Carnegie Hall on my piano at home.
So you think that it's going to be in the direction of incorporating electronics?
It's going to be incorporating
Digital?
electronics,
Вот
and
это,
in my
да.
opinion, it's going to also enable more people to become a part of the piano community, because we want to have this wonderful feature called Educator on Demand.
Ладно.
Imagine if you're just a hobbyist.
Понимаешь?
You're gonna be
То есть как бы,
concert
да, короче, купил себе фортепиано, и тебя там сидит там играет, да, понимаешь. Реал-тайм почти что, ну, как про себя говорит. Себе
But you want to know how to play La La Land, and it's the middle of the night. You press a button on your stereo, and you're connected to a teacher someplace in the world. And that teacher can listen to you on her piano or his piano, and you can listen to your teacher on your piano, and you can communicate, just like with FaceTime.
Yeah.
So it makes the lesson convenient. You know, if I'm having a problem, I can, you know, dial you up and say, Tiffany, how do I do this? What's the right fingering
Or me
here?
asking you really. So what about the design of the piano itself? Any innovations going on?
Well, definitely. I mean, what we did several years ago is we had a project called One Steinway, and that had to do with the case of the instrument, the aesthetic look of the instrument. For example, we always thought that the curved arm on the German piano was more attractive than the square arm, and it's also much easier to finish than having a harsh angle.
You
But
can get chipped also.
yes, exactly. But we thought that the music desk of the American piano was far more functional and far nicer looking, more aesthetically beautiful, and the prop stick that holds the lid up was far more aesthetically beautiful. It kind of looked like a violin a little bit. And so we started to look at what we thought were the best features of each piano, and then we combined them. And our hope was that we weren't going to end up with a camel, but we were going to end up with something that was easy to manufacture, but that was also a piano that would be recognizable as a Steinway piano,
Right.
and one which would have the best characteristics of both the American Steinway and the German Steinway. And we did this for another reason as well. At both of our factories, there is a capacity that we cannot really exceed because it's people, and training people takes decades in many cases.
Yeah.
So if there was an imbalance where, let's say that Germany needed cases because they couldn't produce enough, then we could send the cases over, or vice versa. They could send them over to the American market. So it gave us a small degree of manufacturing flexibility. Having fewer parts in a manufacturing facility is better,
Yeah, of course.
because then you don't have to be making all these disparate things.
Yeah. So that answers some of your questions about why the one at my home looks like the design as the Hamburg one is, because of this.
Yes, but the important thing is touch and tone. There's an American sound, an American touch, and there's a German sound and a German touch. Those will always remain separate because we have very passionate users that like this one or like that one, or in some cases like them both for different repertoire. So that will remain the same.
Some of you are asking me to pick a side. It's true, because different repertoire suits better for different sounds, and sometimes Bach maybe would work really well in a Hamburg, but then if you want that warmth sound, I think, right, for New York,
Completely agree.
maybe it's a different repertoire instead. So
Well, I mean, for me, and everybody's different. This is very subjective. If
Yeah.
I was playing Schubert, if I was playing Mozart, I love a German piano because the sound is so clear and pure. And it's just,
very transparent, that clearness.
yes. If I'm playing Rachmaninoff or Brahms or Schumann or with an orchestra, I definitely want an American piano because it just has a bigger character, more robust sound, I guess, to me.
A popular question also on all the channels was about digital
Крепко.
pianos.
Вот ты как
With
едят.
starting to make digital pianos, and what do you think?
You know, we've thought about that for years, but that's not our core expertise. That's not what we're about. I mean, a digital piano is truly a totally electronic instrument. And while some may say it's a decent substitute for a piano, I don't believe it is. I believe it's actually a negative substitute. People that have a digital, even an expensive one, they think they've had a relationship with an acoustic piano, but they really haven't.
Yeah, I've played on digital pianos that try to emulate an acoustic one, but it just does not sound right. Like the thing that I would do, whatever technique that I do on a digital that tried to be an acoustic one, and then when I try to do that on an acoustic, it just does not line up. So I don't actually see.
No, it's not a substitute, and I find, you know, a piano, particularly a Steinway piano, has a soul. I don't feel that same way with an electronic digital piano, that it's, I don't want to say it's soulless, but it just, I don't have that connection.
Yeah, well, I
to
mean,
it.
it's not just a robot, you know, it's not very
It's a computer.
Yeah. So, sorry to disappoint those who are digital piano enthusiasts, but
Well, I think in certain
Motorbostics,
circumstances in a
motorbostics.
studio to
Ну
recording
так,
is sort of
так
modern.
просто нет, наверное так, заинтересован просто. Потому что, ну нет, наоборот, ну ладно, да, ну вот наоборот, наоборот. Нет, это все понятно, это все романтика, я все понимаю. Как бы самое чистое это что, это голос, наверное, рисковый, бытовой, да, индивидуальный. Да, да, да. Ну это да, то есть, да, ну и что дальше-то, да, я понимаю, да. Да, просто, да, ну наоборот, значит, да, наоборот, да. Piano has a soul, короче.
Music, if you're Beyonce or Lady Gaga, whatever,
some synthesizer.
all of that, it integrates very nicely, and you get a very different musical objective than you would with a traditional piano.
Aiden on YouTube asked, what makes a Steinway software special than any other piano manufacturers that has their premium connection, unlike other manufacturers?
Well, if you compare the few pianos out there that are kind of built like a Steinway, they are in the same price range as a Steinway. It just takes about a year to build a Steinway piano, a lot of hands on that piano, and you need to get a return on that, obviously, if you invest that much money. you need to get somewhat in return, so we stay in business. And we don't compromise the quality. Now, what most consumer products companies do, what most piano companies have done over the last 100 years, is to keep to a price point. So in order to do that, if wood goes up in price or metal or wages go up, they take something out of the piano. And Steinway has always not done that. Our founder said we build a piano to a standard, not to a price. And the Steinway piano will always be going up in price, just because it's going to cost more in labor, because hourly wages go up, benefits go up, materials, they can go up and down, but by and large, what we use never seems to go down in price because it's the finest woods available. So it's built to a standard as opposed to a price.
Well, that's the price you pay for, it's the quality. What do you see, or what does Steinway see as the future of classical music?
Well, fortunately, I believe classical music, because it connects with us emotionally in a very human way, is never going to go away. I believe that people are starting to get back to things that are authentic. And wonderful classical music made by two hands on a piano that is an acoustic instrument.
Or four hands.
Or four hands. There's nothing more authentic than that.
Yeah.
And the beauty about the great repertoire that we're able to play and listen to is that it is different by everybody who plays it. So it reinvents itself with every performance. And that is a connection. Imagine, if you will, what life would be like without great music. Imagine graduating from college without Mr. Elgar's wonderful pomp and circumstance. Imagine what it would be like, at a funeral without a dirge. It expresses our emotions, and it consoles us, and wraps its arms around us, and really makes us human because it connects us. So I think the future is pretty bright for great music. And the piano.
It's a very optimistic outlook. Great. Last question. What is your motto? Or if you have any advice for young aspiring musicians?
I think the most important thing one can do is to find something that they're passionate about. I mean, it's great to make money, and our world is sort of revolves around making money, and you have to have a certain amount